Black Plague of TPA here. TPA, the Terror and Paranormal Alliance, is my personally founded paranormal/UFO investigation group investigating odd lights and other weird things I see or hear that's paranormal related in Massachusetts. I've been investigating odd lights I've seen in the sky for at least 2 years. 1 year, actually. Actually, it went back as far as 2008, but I haven't done any kind of real investigations of the night sky before last year. An investigation to the night sky is usually me going out, filming myself looking at the sky, looking at objects, looking at them and trying to ascertain whether they're unusual or not using a very sophisticated checklist, which I have to memorize when I do it. This will be my third sky watch in 2 years. And the checklist basically goes through all the mundane things it could be and how to determine if it's a star, planet, airplane, satellite, weather balloon, you name it. There are ways to determine what you're seeing is one of those things. If the thing is moving really, really crazy like this and is changing color or shape, it's probably a UFO, but I've never seen anything do that. Changing color and shape, I saw one object in the camera viewfinder do it, but I didn't see it physically, and it could be an error in the camera, I'm starting to think, but I don't know for sure. When you see an object that's standing perfectly still in the sky, and you see it more than once, and you notice it on clear and cloudy nights, by default, it has to be something that can hover for a long period of time. You have to kind of look at it for a long period of time to see if it moves or not. There are ways to determine if an object is moving at a really slow pace, like a star. Stars, they move in an arc-like pattern, like this, over time. Not in a straight line, but like a curve, starting lower and then going higher later on. And that curve, the angle of it depends on the Earth's tilt. Planes and aircrafts move completely straight because they're much closer to us. If you've got a helicopter which is hovering, you should hear the helicopter noise unless it's really far away. But a light on a helicopter shouldn't be visible much further than a really far distance away, so if you can hear it, you probably can see it. So that's the way I look at it. If I can't hear it, it can't be a helicopter because it's too far away to hear or see, in my own opinion. Things like weather balloons would be really high in the sky and would hover totally still, and they wouldn't change color or shape. I had never seen anything that behaved like a UFO that's that high, ever. Not like straight up. Because weather balloons have a minimum height of like 100,000 feet, which is too high. You wouldn't even see them. If you saw them low in the sky, they'd have to be fairly close. You wouldn't see them at that long distance if they were really that high. It'd be much further away to be that high at that kind of angle in the sky, if you know what I mean. There are other things like iridium flares, reflections off of satellites, that move and slowly change color and then fade out. And there are other things like that you can use to determine whether what you're seeing is unusual or not. Tonight I'm going to look at the sky to look for things that I call star-like UFOs that behave like stars but aren't stars. And I've proven that they aren't stars using various programs like Celestia, a planetarium simulator which allows you to view the sky at a certain night from a certain angle at a certain time to verify what you're seeing is a star. These objects, these star-like UFOs, appear in cloudy nights too, and they don't behave like stars. They jump up in the sky suddenly, they move very slowly, straight like an airplane across the sky, but they're not an airplane because they don't have any blinking lights on them. They usually have a flickering white, bluish light or a green light. They are bizarre, and I'm going out to look for them tonight. I want to talk a little bit about digital camera artifacts, not the kind of artifact you dig from the ground. An artifact, in this definition of it, is an error in the digital camera software which makes something appear that's not really there. Looking at something in a digital camera film made me realize artifacts are everywhere, and you have to kind of determine what you're seeing is not an artifact. So if you're seeing it not with your naked eye and you're seeing it with a digital camera, it could be an artifact through the viewfinder. In order to test this, the best thing to do is to test it multiple different times. Don't just film it once. Film that area 5 minutes later, the next night, a half an hour later, whatnot, to see if you can replicate it. And do it from different angles, and keep it like a close eye on what angle you're actually viewing the object from. If you can't replicate it again, it might not be an artifact, but if you can replicate it, that puts some serious doubt into what you've actually filmed on camera. And I keep a mental note on that at all times, because digital cameras can really mess up stuff, especially with photos. But videos too. If you film the sun, you see all these weird lines. If you weren't knowing what you were seeing, you would think, oh, that's paranormal. What the hell is that? But it's not. It's just simply a digital camera overreacting thanks to the chip absorbing more light than it should, basically. I'm not going to go into detail on how it works. I read it online somewhere, but I don't remember the specifics, and I would sound dumb if I tried to, tell everybody right now what causes the artifacts to happen. But basically, it's the chip that is sensitive to light, the CCD chip in all digital cameras. If too much light comes into one particular pixel, it can overflow and create different effects that aren't real. So you have to keep that in mind when you're doing digital camera photography or filming of all types. Over the last week, when my PC hasn't been here, I've been seeing this odd light in the sky that I've ascertained is actually a UFO using some photography analyzed in the painting program. The light, which you can't see now, appears around 11:44 at night. It appears around that part in the sky. Within 15 minutes, it's here. And it moves straight across the sky in that direction, and within a few hours it's not visible from this window or the window in my bedroom, which looks in the same direction. This light isn't a star. It flickers really, really fast, like 20 times a second. And there's a little red light that flickers like once every 2 or 3 seconds in the corner. So you might be thinking it's a plane, but when the first time I observed this object, I was looking at it closely, and it seemed to disappear. And I was thinking to myself, oh, it's disappeared. It all of a sudden appeared 20 degrees higher than it used to be a minute ago. Stars don't move like that, nor do planes. They don't jump up like that suddenly. So I'm like, I need proof this is a UFO. Right before that, I photographed 9 photographs of this object using a painting program. I analyzed them. 6 out of these 9 photos were using a camera mode that doesn't allow a lot of light in. The last 3 are using a camera mode, which I'll be using tonight in my investigation, that allows a lot more light in. It's called high ISO. I just want to show off the photos right now to show you that this thing isn't a UFO. But first, I actually checked in Celestia to see if there was a star in that position, and 2 different sightings of it, there was no star in a position bright enough to be this object. I'm going to go to my blog here, because I wrote about this last night. I got a lot of views, 22 views today, which is incredible. 23 views now. Alright, I wrote about it here in my blog. And these are 2 images taken in Celestia that I put in the blog. And there's this little dark star here, Antares. But that is in the wrong place to be this star that I saw. The star should be around here. At the time I photographed the sky in when I took this photo in Celestia. See, the Celestia allows you to see what stars are in what positions at certain times in different areas of the world at certain angles in the sky, like west, northeast, whatever. At the direction I saw this light, north, northeast, east, northeast, actually it's east, north, east, northeast, the star should be here at this time, but it's not. Antares is not it. And Antares is barely noticeable. It's a very cloudy night. I saw the star, this UFO, both times. So it can't be Antares. I mean, Antares is just barely noticeable on this kind of thing. You can, in Celestia, determine the cloudiness by changing the maximum magnitude to a lower value to emulate cloudiness and not being able to see much. And another photo, this was from 2 nights ago. This one's from last week when I first saw it, emulating the sky that night in Celestia. Nothing is visible but Arcturus up here. That again is in the wrong place to be this star. It's not bright enough to be this star-like object. And the star-like object, when I observed it last night, was moving too fast to be a star. I looked at it twice, 2 nights ago actually, not last night, but 2 nights ago. And when I saw it in a certain position once, I'm like, okay, that might be the star Vega. So I go back out, wait 5 minutes, look at it again, look at the position it's in, what direction it's in, go back into Celestia a second time, and there was no star in the position the second time that could be it. Now, what I really wanted to show you guys out is this, what I really wanted to show are images that I enhanced in the GIMP, a painting program, that show that this isn't a star at all. In fact, this is proof that this thing was a UFO. This little white dot here, this one, the one that has an arrow to the left and below it, is the UFO. All the other dots you see here are, you can't really see them in the camera, but they're dust. And dust under this filter has a solid dark center and a white line around it, like in a circle. And this little object here is completely, has no solid black center, it's all white. And if you look at it closely, you can't see it in the camera, it is disc-shaped. This thing here is just my pointer. It's not it. You can clearly see that this ain't a star. You can't see it in this video, unfortunately, but when I look at it closely, I can see it's a disc-shaped object. And to corroborate that, I took another photo and put it through a different filter, which is used to sharpen it a lot. That first filter was used to find shapes based on colors and highlights them in certain colors. Again, you can see a disc-shaped object. You really can't see it in this camera video, but I can clearly see it with my own eye. It's disc-shaped. It's the brightest thing in the whole sky that night. And it's in the same exact place the other disc-shaped object with the other filtered photo is in. Alright, I'm out, and right now I see two objects in the sky, which I'm not sure what they are. I'm going to, check this in Celestia. They're in a, I would like to say 50 degrees up in a west-southwest direction right now at around 7 o'clock at night. One looks like a star, one is more bright. I think they're the planet Venus and the planet Jupiter. I have reason to believe that's what I'm seeing. I don't think there's anything unusual about these. I just want to, show off that I do misinterpret things, and I'm trying to eliminate that. Now this light here is why I saw the weird light coming from, and as you see, it is flickering different colors, but the actual light, I'm seeing this other light below it, and you can see it clearly. The other light is actually just an artifact. I was right all along. It's the digital camera looking at a reflection. Hold on, I'm undoing this. It's the digital camera looking at the reflection of a power line is what I saw and filmed it as a UFO. I'm stupid. So, even though I didn't actually spot a real UFO less than a week later, the digital camera was screwing things up. It wasn't a UFO, I saw it all. The one I filmed and put up on YouTube. I'm going to have to take it down and put a disclaimer saying this was no UFO. That sucks. And I was being kind of stupid and I wasn't eliminating all possibilities. I tried to. However, now that I think about it, the light that I think is a reflection of the power line. I don't know if you can see it really closely. Yeah, it's behaving just like the UFO thing I saw. Sorry, I have a shaking disorder. It's very tough for me to... Right now you can clearly see it's an artifact. Later on at night I couldn't have even figured that out later on, but yeah. Little update here. I'm looking at the street light again, and I zoomed in again from the same exact angle, and I didn't notice the weird flickering. So maybe it's not an artifact. I'm going to show off what I mean. I'm not clearly seeing it now, but I'm only seeing it when I'm filming something. It's strange. Yeah, it's an artifact, alright, but it's only showing up when I film the actual night sky. It's a camera error caused by the camera's video filming feature screwing up the CCD. When you actually look under the viewfinder and don't actually film it, you don't see it. So all this about being a UFO has been debunked completely as a camera error right now. I don't like it one bit, but this is the kind of risk you take by saying something's a UFO. I learned it the hard way by saying, oh, that star is a UFO. You gotta be a lot more careful than that. You gotta be a lot more scientific about these things. Honestly. You have to eliminate all the mundane possibilities. And I just did by testing it again, proving it was a camera error of all things. Unless there was something that only shows up when you film it with a camera. I can't understand how that would even be true. It doesn't make sense. Unless the camera films infrared, but your viewfinder doesn't see it unless you... That doesn't make sense to me. The viewfinder should see it, so it has to be a camera error if you ask me. However, there was an odd object I saw 2 nights ago in the trees over there, from my bedroom window, which is up that direction somewhere. I was looking in this direction from the bedroom window on the 2nd floor. I noticed this odd bright light moving through the trees vertically, very slowly. It was very bright, like car street light, not car street lights, car headlight brightness, and it seemed to be reflecting off the trees. It seemed to change shape and color, and as it reached the top of the trees, it completely disappeared. Yeah, I don't know what the hell it was. I've only seen it once, so I can't really debunk it as anything. It's tough. I have to just assume I never will know the explanation of it. But okay, I'm seeing another object now in the sky. It's probably about 7:05, 7:06 right now. I'll get a direct estimate later. The direction of this particular object is, I'm looking at the street here, it's probably directly east, I'd like to say. Maybe east, southeast? No, it's east. And it's about 45 degrees up from the ground. Something like that, maybe 40 degrees. It looks just like a star. Probably is a star. It isn't flickering at all. No, it's not. I'm going to try to film this. Hold on. Oh, it's not showing up on the camera. No, it's not. I just did the movement test, which is one of the hardest things to do because you hurt your eye doing it. And this star-like object is not moving. I tested it for about 8 seconds. There's no way in hell it's moving at all. Standing there. It's a good thing I photographed this because I have no clue what this is. Seven-second test. Still not moving. I'm seeing another object in the sky. It's very, very faint. It's probably a star. Its direction is... Let's see here. I'd just like to say... I'll think about the direction is later. I have a hard time, kind of figuring it out. But it's about 50 degrees up in the sky. It's very, very faint. I'm seeing it now about 7:25 maybe. I'll check later, but the direction, the angle of it should be about north-northeast. Yeah, north-northeast. No, north. Seeing it north. It's flickering. Doing a movement test. There's nothing to test its movement by from here. I'm going to get up and do the movement test somewhere else to find a place where I can obstruct. Light was seen around 7:22. So I was not far off when I said 7:25. I'm going to try to do the movement test. Have to be careful out here though. Oh, I don't even see it now. There it is. I'm going to attempt it from down here. Prefer to do this kind of crap sitting down, honestly. My vision starts hurting after I do the movement test. Alright. I can find it in the sky again. It's not easy to see from where I am sitting. Okay. Alright. It's moving in the star-like direction, which should be like this. It's not moving straight. So this is definitely a star I'm seeing. I'm eliminating that as possibility right now. I'm going to stay right here and look at the night sky. I'm going to film if I see anything out of the ordinary. And that light, the one that I discovered around 722, is way too bright to be a star. It's not an airplane. And I'm going to do an additional movement test against the post in front. That object clearly isn't moving. I saw it 722. It's too bright to be any known star. In fact, it's about the brightness of planet Venus right now. Yeah. I don't know what it could be. I'm seeing it in the east direction right now at 7:33 or something like that. I'm going to say 7:35. I'm going to go inside and figure out how close I am. Looking at the object again that I'm assuming is unusual, and it's part of a triangle of three different objects. The first two are stars, obviously. This one's the lowest member of the triangle. The triangle's a little slanted to the east, so it's not straight down. And it's much, much brighter than the other two. It could be a star. It might not be. I'm going to check in Celestia to see if I see a constellation that looks like that in Celestia. If I don't, that's a tip-off. It's not something that is normal. It could be another false positive. I don't know until I analyze this stuff. It's not something I can look in the sky and say, oh, that's a UFO. That isn't. I'm looking for things that behave like stars but aren't. So I'm seeing another much thinner triangle in the another direction right now that's much taller. Three different stars. I'm going to do it based off constellations now. It's a bit easier. That's in the hold on here. I'm terrible with directions. That's in the north-northeast direction. Yeah, it's north-northeast. Northeast, north. Yeah, north-northeast. I've decided that my main focus in this investigation is going to be the area where I saw the rising light. I mentioned earlier, I'm going to keep looking at that area with my own eyes. See if I notice anything out of the ordinary. Clearly, whatever it was, it disappeared really quickly, so it makes me wonder what the hell I'm dealing with. I see a plane. I see Polaris, the star Polaris. I am seeing a bunch of constellations. I don't know what that other light is. It could be a very bright star, but I'm looking. I think my investigation, I need to find things that twinkle a lot. These star-like UFOs, they twinkle a lot, and none of these things do. I think it might be one of those nights where you can go out and you just don't see them. It's a clear night. These things like to show up on cloudy nights, not clear nights, from what I've, ascertained over the last few times I've seen them. On clear nights, you can barely tell them from stars. There's one that's flickering, the top of that second triangle. It's flickering, but not fast enough to be one of these things. That's just a star. In fact, a lot of stars are flickering once every second or so. Nothing major. That's perfectly normal for a star to do that. I'm looking for things that flicker like 30 times a second, things that don't behave like stars. Things that behave like an unusual light. I'm seeing a bunch of lights lately that flicker really, really profoundly, like once a second. They flicker very brightly, but they also move. Those are probably airplanes of some sort. I don't know what else to call them. They're not UFOs. Those are the only two things I've noticed tonight, are stars and those planes. I've seen a few other planes that are obviously planes with contrails behind them and whatnot, but I'm seeing the Dipper. And that triangle I saw was actually part of the Big or Little Dipper, one of the two. So yeah, and there's another constellation there, the Dipper, that's triangle shaped possibly. I'm going to try to look that up to see if there's any constellation that looks like that, to ascertain whether that bright thing is even a star or not. I photographed it, and I will not look at the photos if I determine it's a star. I saw them west-southwest, like 40 degrees up. around 7:40 at night. So I'm going back out there. I don't have time to look them up in Celestia and then not go back out. We're going to photograph them now. Another update by me. I've looked out over the last 5-10 minutes and I haven't seen anything out of the ordinary besides possibly that light in the sky that I just photographed a few times. I photographed it earlier on tonight, I photographed it later tonight. I'm going to look to see which photographs get enhanced better to see what it is. I'm going to test it in Celestia to see if it's a star. I couldn't see if it was moving or not, which is the weirdest thing about it. I did several tests to see if it was moving, and it failed all those tests, proving it was standing totally still. That may be the only weird thing tonight. I want to do movement tests, and the other two lights I photographed earlier that I'm assuming is Jupiter and Venus. We'll do it with one of them. The other one I can't really access from here, or see from here. Alright, those two are actually moving like a star or planet would. So I know for a fact they're probably just the planet Venus and Jupiter. Don't know why I even photographed them, honestly. But, you know, I photograph everything that could be odd. It's the weird thing about me. I'm a very compulsive photographer. I like to photograph anything. If I don't photograph something that might be odd, I might miss something. So I'm always, you know, I just photograph it and then determine it later whether it's weird or not. It's just the way I work with all my investigations. Update, I just saw another weird object in the sky around here. I don't know if it was a UFO or not. I didn't see it enough to ascertain. I only observed it for like 3-4 seconds at a time. It was red and it was moving away from me. I think it blinked like a plane. I'm seeing another red light now moving that's clearly a plane, so I think what I saw was a plane anyway, so it's pointless to get film or photos or something, which is probably mundane. I try to, you know, and right now I'm trying to eliminate the mundane possibilities automatically before doing any other kind of filming and photography. Normally I wouldn't do that, but yeah, probably just a plane. This is Celestia. People, this is the program I use to verify if something's a star. You go up here to the time menu, you go to set time, and you have to set it in military time here, date over there. So you put the date here and the time, military time over here, and you click OK. And then you hit the pause key to pause it. I have to set it back to around 7:30 when I saw the thing that wasn't moving in the sky, which I think is my UFO to investigate for tonight. And then you move into where I live, roughly, and you then look up in the sky at the right angle. And I'm looking for anything which has a weird triangular-shaped constellation. So I need to look directly east. I am looking east. Now I'm looking east. I am seeing one very bright star. That star is called M.U.P.H.A.R.T. There's also another even brighter star called Regulus. Can't be Regulus. Regulus is in the wrong direction. M.U.P.H.A.R.T., however, if I lower the magnitude down to a really cloudy night where nothing is visible, it's barely visible. It's not M.U.P.H.A.R.T., I can say that. It's just couldn't be it because I was seeing it when no other stars were visible. And the thing is, this was at the bottom of a triangle-shaped pattern of stars or constellation or whatnot. M.U.P.H.A.R.T. is, but if you lock your position of the Earth to the rotation of the Earth so you're always at the same place, and then increase the time to you see it slowly move. Hold on here. It's moving so slowly you could see it move over a minute, but this thing wasn't moving. I had checked over like 8 or 9 seconds. I want to check it out personally. Hold on. Little update. I looked at M.U.P.H.A.R.T in Celestia closely to see how fast it moved. At around 7:30 tonight, I set that to the time in Celestia, looked east, and it was moving so quickly that a movement test looking at whatever I saw outside should have detected its movement, but didn't, eliminating the possibility that the star M.U.P.H.A.R.T is that object in the east that I saw. This is big. I'm going to do more stuff on a blog post on it tomorrow. In fact, some photos I took of the object under a certain filter looked very odd, like they weren't anything like a star at all, like they were artificial looking. In fact, shape was. And it's the first time, and second time actually, in 2 nights that I've gotten photos of these things that I've analyzed them to see what they look like. And 2 times in a row, objects I see in the sky that look like stars but don't behave like stars. They look artificial or man-made if you filter it enough. I'll do a blog post on tomorrow. The other thing is, when I looked at this object later on in the night when my parents came home, it was where M.U.P.H.A.R.T should be. It moved up there when I wasn't looking at it, but it wasn't moving when I did the movement test. And the movement test detects movement right away. So if this thing was actually moving like the real star would have moved, I would have noticed it in the movement test when I block one eye and, push it behind something. So this is big. There is a positive result for a UFO tonight's night watch, which is good, 3 in a row. I debunked the other 2 things in the sky, but this could not have been the star M.U.P.H.A.R.T. And this is big. This is really, really big. And I'm glad finally we got good results, shareable results in photos for this, because this is, in fact, I am going to show the photos right now, believe it or not, because I just want to show it off in the film. I'm going to load up the GIMP, the program I use the filter in, to show that this is not a star when I was photographing. And this is why I photograph everything that my gut feeling tells me is odd. Because if I don't photograph it, I'll never find out if it's odd or not. Just here is the photo of what I thought was M.U.P.H.A.R.T, but isn't. You zoom way in. This is seriously filtered. This uses the ISO shutter setting, which allows a lot of light in so that I don't. So I see everything. And it was so bright out, I probably shouldn't have done this. But, hold on here. This is the unfiltered version. And you really can't see it in this, but that is not a star. That is too different shaped to be a star. It's almost banana shaped, tilted to its side. And now I'm going to show you the version that was put underneath the filter where I can see what shape it really is, defines the shape a lot better. This filter figures out what shapes are by looking at color differences, and anything that is not a solid object has a little black circle in the middle of it. You really can't see it, but a circle with a black center, not a solid white circle. Anything that is really there, that isn't dust, that is, has a solid mass in it, and you can clearly see the solid mass of this is artificial or disc-shaped with this filter. Ignore the white stuff, the white bluish stuff here and here. I don't know what that is, but if you look at this closely, it is artificial looking. And I know what dust looks like in this filter. Any kind of false positive would have a dark black spot in the middle. Any kind of true positive would not. So this is groundbreaking proof of a UFO taken by me and filtered. It was so bright you could see it even during the dusk hours. It was, even during the day, if you looked up in the sky and looked at it close enough, you probably would see it. It was that bright. Venus to dark moon brightness, and it clearly ain't a star. I'm telling you, this ain't a star at all. I don't know what it is. When I look at this, I say, how could that even be a star? How could a star have a disk like this? Stars are so far away you can't even see their disk unless it's the sun. This clearly ain't a star, people. It's a UFO. I don't know any other way to say it, but to say this is a UFO.